In today's video, guys, vehicles. Grab your personal plan, turn to page 22. We see what's next, my personal shelter plan. If we turn back in our personal plan key, follow the list through. My main safe location, done. My backup safe location, done. My maps, done. Position on my main camp, camp meeting spot, camp layout, location intelligence, done. That's still location intelligence. My personal shelter plan. This is where we are now. So my personal shelter plan, page 22, my personal shelter plan. And step 5 told us to go back to our personal plan. So we are now on my personal shelter plan. It also says after community leaders and admins, vehicles. So our personal shelter plan now goes on to vehicles. So turn to page 85 within your personal plan, vehicles. So what do we see here? This is a Vauxhall Astra convertible. It's got the roof down. It's a nice sunny day. It's an 09 plate. Let's talk about this vehicle. So let's just have a little look at it. Looks like a standard normal car, doesn't it? And that's because it is. It's just a normal everyday car. Nothing special about this. What do I use this for? I use it for going from point A to point B. It's just a normal everyday car. Just like all of these other cars here. Just normal cars. So you may ask yourself the question, how can that be used as a personal shelter? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain. So again, turn to page 85 within your personal plan. Just going to read it to you. Vehicles. Once we have a safe location in place, along with personal planning and preparing, I suggest starting with a vehicle. I've been researching survival for 8 years and to this point. I've tried and tested it all on many occasions. What we are preparing for is not going to be a walk in the park. Before we go any further, have you ever gone camping in a tent and it's rained? If you have, you'll know how miserable this experience is. Could you imagine fleeing into real-life survival with nothing more than a tent? If you have no choice, then it's better than nothing. If you do have a choice, I highly suggest surviving in a vehicle. At the end of 2023, I spent around a month staying in my car. I remember waking up early in the morning to a terrible storm with heavy rain going on outside. I was so grateful that I was in my car, warm and dry. What a difference even a car makes. So I'm going to stress this very clearly to you now. Do everything you possibly can to flee in a vehicle. What we want to aim for is the best quality motorhome/RV that we possibly can find. Other vehicles to use: caravan, American trailer, lorry, truck, van. If you cannot get any of the above vehicles, then you can just use your everyday vehicle. From experience, I know you can quite easily survive in a car. For example, I've not only tested this out in a van I had in the past, but also my ordinary car. We all want to aim to flee to our safe locations and vehicles. This gives us the best possible chance of survival. This is the closest we will have to normality out there. The idea is that we drive our vehicles up onto our safe locations. You'll want to pick a good spot near our water source and forest. Next, camouflage the vehicle into your surroundings. This would then become our home. A vehicle shelter gives us protection from the wind, rain and the sun. A vehicle also provides protection from wild animals and insects. It's a shelter that you can fully prepare at home the way you want it before we flee. Meaning we can transition from now into full-blown survival quite comfortably. Make sure your vehicle is in good working order and filled to the top with fuel so that it's ready to go. It's important to understand that this would be the final destination of our vehicles. From here it would not be classed as a vehicle anymore, but more of a static home. If you're planning on fleeing in the vehicle, then write this up under my personal shelter plan within your personal plan. Also write up any other backup survival shelters that you have planned to bring or make. So we've just gone from an everyday vehicle that you drive around in the sun and whatever to a proper home. This here is my shelter that I plan to flee in, to the safe location when crap hits the fan. Why is it? Let me explain a little more to you. What's the difference between this and a tent? There's one heck of a difference. First of all, I'm surrounded by a metal shell. Alright? And obviously windows. I would still rather be behind glass than a bit of thin fabric, you know? So I'm surrounded by a metal shell. I'm properly enclosed in here. Now I know this is obvious, but I've got to go through it, right? And what does this mean that I have protection from? Well, first of all, the weather. Wind, rain, snow, and even sunshine. I'm protected from the weather in this shell. Right, when it's really windy, wind don't affect me in here. If it's raining, doesn't affect me in here. If it's really sunny, I can drive to a spot where I'm sort of out of view of the sun, so it's not on me directly. If it's snowing, not affected. If it's sleeting, not affected. You see what I'm saying? That's the weather alone. But we aren't just preparing for the weather. You know, there's going to be volcanic eruptions. There's going to be acid rain, so you have protection from that. You know, there's going to be dust falling down from the sky and debris. It's going to be bad, man. It's going to be really bad. So you also have protection from that. What else do we have protection from within this shell? Wild predators. You're at your safe location and you got your camp set up and you're sitting behind a little thin piece of fabric in a tent. Even if it's like a well-made tent, it's still fabric, you know, and there's a hungry animal and it wants its dinner and it can't find food anywhere else and you're there lying there sleeping. Who's it going to come after? You know, you're in a tent. Do you see what I'm saying? But in here, how's it going to get through the vehicle? You know, the animal's not going to open the handle on your car, is it? You know, it's going to try and get in through your vehicle. But if you're in here, you're protected from wild predators. Also, I don't know about you, but flipping spiders, man. Freaking hate spiders. You're more likely to come across a spider in a tent than you are in a vehicle. Yes, they do get in vehicles, but like not as much as they would a tent. So like insects, creepy crawlies, spiders, you know. So this vehicle provides protection from the weather, wild predators, insects and creepy crawlies. What else does it protect us from? Other human beings. Yes, another human being could get into your vehicle if they really tried over a wild predator, but you're going to have a little bit more protection immediately than you would over a tent. You know, it's going to take them longer. And if your vehicle's still running at your safe location, you've still got fuel in it, well, guess what? Turn the engine on and drive off. Or if it's at night and you're sleeping, they come along to whack you over the head. If you're in a tent, they can do that easily. If you're in a vehicle, they've got to hit the vehicle before they hit you, and that will wake you up, alert you, and you can deal with the threat. You can either face it or get out of there. Do you know what I mean? Now, what else does a vehicle do? It keeps you dry. It keeps you warm, especially if you've got a sleeping bag and blankets. So this vehicle shell protects you from the weather, wild predators, insects, creepy crawlies, other human beings. You keep dry and warm. And so what we want to aim to do is to flee to our safe location and use vehicles as a form of shelter. All right? In a vehicle, even a car like this, you can quite easily sleep, you can wash yourself, you can cook, you can do everything that you need to do survival skills wise within your vehicle. Your vehicle is a shelter. Pick a vehicle over a tent. Don't flee to your safe location in your car and then set up a tent. No, flee to your safe location and use your car as your shelter. And so then when we were talking about camp layout, you can actually position your vehicles within a circle formation in your camp. Now, obviously, you've got to work with what you've got. I've got this car. And I know it looks all flashy on here, but really it's not. It's got loads of problems with it. It's got a problem where it smokes all the time. I've had 3 mechanics look at it and they can't find out what's going on with it. The horn don't work. I've had mechanics look at that. The window buttons don't work. Yes, that one works. And it brings all the windows down, but individually, I'll give you an example. So, engine on. See that button there? That's for that window there. This button here goes to that window there. Brings it down. But it won't bring it up. Horn. See what I mean? And it's got loads of other problems going on with it. It's not great. Alright, so yes, it may look all flashy on here with the roof down and everything, but really it's got major problems. But guess what? As it stands right now, it's just being real, I can't afford to get another vehicle. So you have to work with what you've got. And why am I showing you and telling you about the problems? Well, here's the thing, I'm just being real. Not all of us can afford decent vehicles. Not all of us can afford to fix our vehicles. The point I'm trying to get across is, even if you're poor, right, use what you've got. Use what you can, you know, to prepare. Use your car. If you have a car, use your car. But here's the thing, if you don't have a car, buddy up with someone that does have a car. If someone else as a part of your community has a car, buddy up with them. Share their car with them. So we now know that we can use our vehicle, our standard everyday car, as a shelter at our safe location. Now what's great about this? I'll tell you what's great about this, is we can actually prepare our very shelter from our front door at home. We don't have to worry about going to our safe location and worrying about how to build a primitive shelter and all the rest of it. We've got our shelter, it's our car. So, normal standard car. Let's open it up. What is the very first bit of kit that you want to prepare? This here is a pop-up tent. So while we're covering personal shelter plans, this is our main shelter sorted out, but you want a backup shelter. Pop-up tent. The reason for a backup shelter is if you're compromised. Say there's a load of people that have turned up at your camp, they want to steal your food, water and supplies, and you try and escape in your car but it won't start, you're in real trouble, you need to flee and get out of there quickly. Open the boot, pop-up tent, grab your bag, go. Now a tent is not a shelter that you want to stay in long term, alright? We use a pop-up tent as an emergency form of shelter until we can build a more stronger shelter, a primitive shelter, which you'll also want to carry tools with you to build a primitive shelter. But I'm going through this with you step by step. So, main shelter, backup shelter. Now when we talk about packing our vehicle with our kit, you actually want your pop-up shelter to go in first. Because it is important in the way that we pack our kit, because in survival you need to be able to access certain items quicker than others. But because this car is my main shelter, my survival gear is going to take priority over my tent, because I'm only going to use this in an emergency if I have to flee my main shelter. In survival, you always want a backup of a backup of a backup. You always need to have a plan in place for everything, right? So we use this vehicle here as our main shelter. We get compromised, we've got a temporary shelter until we can build a more permanent shelter. And if you get compromised from your primitive shelter, then you've got your emergency tent until you can build another primitive shelter. So that way you've always got shelter. Do you see what I'm saying? So prepare your vehicle shelter from your very front door. So this is great, guys. So now we've got a main safe location sorted out. We've got a backup safe location. We're part of a Christian community online that's going to meet us at our safe location physically. And we now have a proper shelter in place and a backup shelter. We are already more than halfway prepared within our plans. So if something goes down right now, you have a safe location to flee to, you have a Christian community that's going to join you there, you have a shelter, you have a backup shelter, you have your survival skills as a part of your personal plan, and that's before we've even got onto kit. So going back to our personal plan, page 87. Says here, it's very important we have a backup shelter planned. I've already basically just spoken you through this, so I'm not going to read that bit to you. Page 88, going to read this to you. Optional, living in our vehicles now. This is down to you to pray about this and be guided by our Lord. Amen. When sudden destruction hits, if you're already living in your vehicle, survival won't be a sudden shock to you as you will already be doing it. You won't have to worry about the mad rush of fleeing. You can drive away from the danger very quickly and go somewhere else. Or you can already be parked up at your safe location. You can come together with others from your community who are also living in their vehicles now. Then you'll notice on page 89 it goes into what to pack. But we're not there yet, we're still on vehicles. So let's turn back to page 22. So we can now tick off my personal shelter plan, page 22. And now let's scroll to my personal plan. So after location intelligence, which follows on the same as the tick list, we have my personal shelter plan. So I'm going to write in here, using my car as my shelter and packing a pop-up tent. So my personal shelter plan, page 36, using my car as a shelter and have packed a pop-up tent as an emergency shelter in the back of my car. I will also include tools to build primitive shelters, but we haven't got onto that yet because that's in what to pack. Obviously you've got 2 pages here, so feel free to use this to write as many notes as you like on your personal shelter plan. So going back to page 22, the next thing on our tick list is my kit list. Go back to our personal plan key. After my personal shelter plan comes my kit list. And after reading about vehicles, living in our vehicles now, this is all vehicles that we just covered, we have what to pack. So this is our kit list. We will cover this in the next video. Thank you for watching. To build a personal plan and to be a part of a Christian community preparing for natural disasters and the hard times ahead, watch this playlist, first link in the description, and I will guide you through step by step in what to do. Please feel free to support my work by giving a one-off or monthly donation, second link in the description. Thank you and bless you.